Hello boys and girls, Andy Raphael from eTechnics.com here with you for another video. Now we've been doing a few more videos as of late with cases, motherboards and the occasional graphics card. And when we think about graphics cards, at the time of me actually recording this, you're really going to be talking about Kepler and Nvidia graphics cards, but by the time this publishes it may actually be after the release date, so please don't shout at me or anything like that. You know, it all depends on when I actually get time to publish this video and the review on the card that I'm looking at today. Because of that, you know, everyone's talking about Nvidia, what's coming up, what the rumours are, this, that and the other, but we can't really talk too much because of NDA issues. So because of that, really we want to focus more on the other big player in the game, which is AMD. Now AMD, their latest and greatest thing is the 7000 series. So over Christmas we saw the 7950 and the 7970, and then just after that we saw 7750 and 7770. Now, whilst I was at CeBIT on the 5th of March, you guys might have seen our coverage, there was another two graphics cards being released from AMD, the 7850 and the 7870. Now, the problem is, and we have made this known to AMD, is their launches. They generally tend to do a paper launch and not a hard launch, so there's no stock in the retail channels. In terms of review samples, they're not exactly fulfilling, and generally reference cards aren't the greatest thing to talk about, because they come just as a card in an anti-static bag, nothing comes included with it, and also when you look at that, the cooler is pretty much the same no matter what card you have, whether it's 7700 series, 7800 series, 7900 series, they all pretty much look the same. They've still got that same cooler from, I believe, the 6850. It's hot, it's noisy, and it's quite plasticky. So we tend to rely more on AMD's partners, so XFX, Club 3D, Sapphire, all these big brands out there that AMD rely on to make custom solutions. Now, whilst they all do make their custom solutions, in my eyes, when the first thing I hear is AMD and custom or unique design, I automatically think Sapphire, purely because some of the brands out there may make a custom design cooler, some of them out there may do an overclock edition. Sapphire seem to do the whole kit and caboodle, and generally they seem to create something that's unique. No one else can sort of match it in terms of their Vapor X design, their Toxics, their Venom. They've got so many different sort of sub brands of Sapphire that they can mould into a graphics card, and generally they're brilliant products. So that's what leads us to today. We've actually got a Sapphire Radeon HD 7850 inside this lovely little box here. But to start with, I want to sort of talk to you a little bit about this card. It's not just your ordinary HD 7850, it is an overclock edition. So you've got your standard 2 gig of GDDR5 memory, very, very much similar in terms of what the card is compared to a reference card, but there are obviously Sapphire's own unique spin on the whole thing, really. So we've got an overclock edition, so it is overclocked from your stock speeds, and they have given it a dual fan design as well. It's a unique design. It does look very, very nice. Sapphire have used this design before, and really I guess the best thing we can do is actually show you what we've got here today, and then we can look at some of the benchmarks and exactly how it performs, and that way you can tell how it sort of situates in the market. Because what we've actually been told by Sapphire is when you look at the price per performance on this card, it should pretty much blow most things out of the water, which should be an interesting one, because everyone sort of knows Sapphire, they trust Sapphire, and if they can get everything right in terms of performance, which they generally do, noise, temperatures, acoustics, which they generally do, and then the last final sort of box to tick really is that bang for buck. So we are hoping to be able to award this a bang for buck award on our written review, but without sort of getting it onto our system and really sort of seeing what it can do, we don't know yet. So what I'm going to do is stop filming for now. We're zooming a little bit further to the box, talk about the packaging a little bit, and then after that we can have a look at the card itself, and then we'll show you some of the benchmarks, the typical benchmarks that we run across all our graphics cards. So AVP, Metro 2033, 3D Mark 11, Heaven, and so forth. So yeah, this is the video side of it. There is a written review as well, which we are doing. So if you're watching this on YouTube, look in the description below where you will see the link to the full written review. If you're watching this on eTechnics, you've already seen the written review. You're on the last page of the review. So enough of me baffling and rambling on. We're going to get straight into it so we can have a look at the Sapphire HD 7850 overclock edition graphics card. So everyone, this is the Sapphire HD 7850 box. So very simple. They've got their sort of army military feel going on that we've seen on a couple of other graphics cards they've done recently. Some of the main features that AMD as well as Sapphire have invested into this card with a dual fan, cool and quiet, PCI Express, DisplayPort, HDMI, some technologies from AMD with their APP technology, acceleration. We also have AMD Eyefinity 2.0 and then 28nm technology. So AMD Radeon graphics comes with a HDMI 1.8 meter extension cable, high speed, even though as we know HDMI is digital, on and off, that's simple. I don't understand why people are still buying, you know, £200 HDMI leads. Either way, I digress. 2 gig of GDDR5 memory, and this is the overclock edition, so you will see some extra performance on this compared to a reference card. Now, turning the box over, we can see that it's very much a standard design from what we see from Sapphire. You know, what we've seen in the past. So a little blurb, a little bit of information on the 7850 graphics card, what comes included in the box, which I do like, assorted cables. Doesn't really give you too much, but just assorted cables. There's a couple of sort of logos here from review sites that you know, are around the world, including Tweaktown and some of the others out there, Hardware Canucks, and these are all the awards that Sapphire have won over the years. There's also a bit of information down here on these main features, including the 28nm technology, AMD Eyefinity, PCI Express, DirectX 11, HD 3D, lots of stuff to take in, lots of stuff to read if you really want. So opening things up, generally we find a sort of brown coloured box inside, and no different with the 7850 OC. So if we take that out of there and chuck the outer packaging on the floor, and then we can open things up and see what we get included inside. So, inside to start with, we have a Sapphire graphics card quick installation guide, and nothing new really there. Product registration, and it tells you in many different languages really how to register your product, your serial number and everything's on there for your gold membership. You also get a DVI to VGA adapter. I still can't see a lot of people using VGA, but obviously it doesn't cost too much extra to include that in there. We also get a Crossfire bridge, a HDMI to DVI dongle if you have got a monitor that's DVI and you want to run multiple monitors. You get that 1.8 meter HDMI extension cable, a 4-pin, even though there's only 3 pins, but 4-pin Molex to 6-pin PCI Express power adapter in case your power supply hasn't got the functionality for that. And also, I'm going to open this one up because it's quite unique, the whole design of it. It's a mini DisplayPort to DisplayPort adapter, but it's just the overall design looks very different to what we've seen in the past. So yeah, quite a nice little feature there. And obviously, looking at these accessories, it does tell you what sort of connections are going to be on this card. So as typical really, including an anti-static bag with a warning note on there, is the 7850 itself. So we're just going to stop for now, move all this stuff out of the way, and then we can take a full look, a closer view of the Sapphire Radeon HD 7850 Overclock Edition. So everyone, this is the Sapphire Radeon HD 7850, and straight away you can see that it's actually quite small. We were expecting something a little bit larger. Straight away you can see that it's encompassed by this plastic sort of heatsink shroud which covers over the whole card from top to bottom, back to front. There's dual fans on here which are branded as sort of quiet, low noise fans. They're not saying that they're silent, but quiet low noise fans. It's got quite a nice little design with this black and sort of grey on there as well. One thing I don't understand though are these 3 little red sort of screw type looking mouldings. At first I thought, oh, maybe they're LEDs, but looking at the back of it, there is no LEDs to be seen. But I guess with a little bit of custom modification you may be able to change that. So 2 big fans on here which do cover over quite a large, you should be able to see it from here, but quite a large aluminium sort of heatsink fin design, and there are copper heat pipes as well. So we've got one coming out here which goes into this end of the cooler, and then we've got another one on this side which goes to the opposite end of the cooler, and they both meet into the middle at the base plate, which makes direct contact with the GPU core. Looking at the back, we can see that it's a custom PCB, blue design, and the only real sort of mounting points on here are for the cooler. So the cooler and the PCB are basically holding everything together. Power wise, we've got a 6-pin PCI Express power connector here, which is on the sort of end of the card instead of being on the top of the card. If you can sort of see into this little red bit over here, you can see, like I say, there's no LEDs, it's just really a sort of plastic moulding. And if we look at a close view of this, you can see where they've sort of made it into a flathead type screw kind of moulding. Not a big fan of it myself, but there must be some sort of method behind the madness, I guess. For those of you wanting extra performance, you have got a connector up here for Crossfire, and they do supply the connector cable with it. So if you do decide that you want 2 of these to give, you know, that unparalleled performance of 2 7850s, you can do that. And then finally, really looking at the back, we can see we've got a dual slot card, so it does take up 2 slots in your expansion bay. The first one is covered by these ventilation ports, so that the 2 fans can obviously spin up and then exhaust any hot air out the rear of your case. Now, connector wise, we've got a single dual link DVI, a HDMI, and then 2 mini display ports. Now, you can obviously run iFinity on this, and if you are sitting there on a sort of budget, then you are going to be looking at using obviously the DVI, maybe the HDMI to DVI adapter, and then some form of adapter for the mini DisplayPort, because as we know, DisplayPort monitors are still very expensive, and they are still in quite high demand, but just really because of the price of it, it can work out quite expensive. But there's nothing to say that Sapphire aren't going to bring out a 7850 Flex Edition, which may see 2 dual-link DVIs and a HDMI with the dongle, so you can run 3 monitors off of DVI. So that is pretty much our look. More of an unboxing than a review, I guess. There's not much we can really talk about. The benchmarks and the performance for this card will speak for itself. We can't really comment at this precise time on what the benchmarks are going to be, because by the time I finish filming this, we're going to get it straight into the test bench and start benching this straight away on all of our games and applications. So we'll know as soon as you know, basically, and we'll get this review up as soon as possible. So for now, my name's Andy Raffel, and we've been looking at the Sapphire HD 7850 OC, or Overclock Edition, graphics card.